We got something special today, a behind-the-scenes look at the Trade Idea software. I'll show you how we make it and how we make it better. I'll focus on some of our newest tools. Hold on tight, you're in for a heck of a ride. This is Philip again. Last time we discussed our product and some of the core offerings. I want to get back to that, but for now I want to look at something new. This is some research and development. This is a tool that's still changing a lot as we work with it. This is, of course, Dino. I'll put a link to that in the description. Dino is server-side JavaScript, similar to Node.js, but newer. Something we're looking at, as I said, research and development. What does this project do? Well, on the one side, it sits there listening to clients, taking in a lot of different requests. This isn't aimed at any specific type of data, like alerts or top lists. This is the infrastructure that helps us communicate. Data comes from the clients in HTTPS, because that's a well-respected format on the internet, gets through a lot of firewalls, gets through a lot of proxies and other things that are out there trying to cause problems for your data. On the other side, it typically talks normal TCP/IP. This is inside our data center, so it's secure as it talks to the upstream servers. Let's see how we develop this stuff, how we test it, how we show it off, how we manage it. So a lot of our tools show up as normal web pages. This is relatively simple to throw together, especially now that we have JavaScript for both the client and the server. Here we have a status page. Well, nothing going on yet. This is only hooked up to my internal network for testing. This isn't live yet, but eventually this will be in our back office so that other people who are monitoring the stuff, when there's no programmers around, they can see what's going on. Well, let's simulate some clients. This first one gives you a whole lot of details, and we don't need the details today. Let's just see if we can simulate a lot of activity. In fact, let's put these two things side by side so I can see the results as I'm working. Now, this does not auto-refresh. It could, it probably will when we're done, but for testing purposes I thought it would be better if it didn't do anything too crazy on me. So we're going to simulate some connections. I don't know, how about 20 connections over 20 seconds? That's small enough that we can actually see it and go through it in real time. Watch it happening. So you can see here as it's doing the work, and over here the status page says yes, we're actually monitoring this. Not a whole lot of actions right now. The important thing is shut down. I can kill someone for various reasons. In fact, we'll discuss why in a moment. What happens if I do? Well, they immediately get, again, this is a simulated client, and this is the real back office that our people will be monitoring things with, or this will evolve into it. It's a little bit simple now. But the important thing is that the client immediately saw that it was closed. This is a custom reason, and, well, this one's just a debug message. You could say something like you were cut off because you have a bad password and don't try again until you fix that. Or maybe it's going to say you got cut off. Well, we'll discuss this more in a minute, but you got cut off just because we're rebalancing and you should immediately retry. How does this work? Let's take a look at the code. I keep teasing you with the code. It really is this easy. Now there's a whole bunch of setup to make this work. In fact, I'm going to point you to a different project. This is basically the same shell as the project that I'm using right now, but it's just the part that we felt comfortable sharing on GitHub. This isn't all the magic. We have to keep a few secrets. I start by creating a web server. Again, you can look online to see what this class is. And I basically added three things. Added some static files. There's so many ways to do that. I could add a different web server, but I like having it all together, all side by side, especially some of the shared code. Remember, we're going to have some JavaScript here that's running on the client, but we're also using JavaScript on the server side, so we might have some files that are used by both of them. And when I edit them, when I fix a bug, I want it to show up in both. Just a convenience. Here's the interesting part of the product, the part that the customers are actually connecting on. This is, well, it's called streaming because it's all WebSockets. Definitely a nice way to go for certain types of applications. Our application is all streaming real-time data. The administrative part is much simpler. It's just sending very specific HTML messages. Force close. Show all. In fact, we can take a look at this. This is the data. It's just JSON. And again, all those are stored in live. So streaming obviously would be available outside the firewall, just pretty much to everybody, because it has its own security built in. But the live and static parts are only aimed at people who have the right permissions, people who are administering this stuff. And again, let's take a quick look at live. We're writing really simple scripts. This is competing with PHP. And all I'm doing is show me, we're in the live directory, show me the file name. So we're in the live directory and the file name is show all. It's not really a file, it's just this section of code. And I go out to this variable the same way that I would in the live part, in the part that's actually talking to customers. And I say just grab me stuff, convert it to an array, convert it to JSON. And there's the output. And then I do two things with it. I send it back to the client, as you just saw, and I'm also sending it down here to the console, just because, again, this is early test stuff that we're working on. Force close is very similar, just a little more complicated. We have to read the part after the question mark. Here, ID equals 5, reason equals from status.ts. Let's see if we can do something a little bit more complicated. That's existing code. Let's see if we can write some new code. So this is something that I've wanted to do for a long time on our servers, but it was a little bit difficult and I just never took the time to try it out. Normally, we can shut down everybody really easily. Well, basically that's just restart the server. I can show you that if you want, but not that exciting. It might be better for a number of reasons to say I want to get rid of a few people from this server, or I want to do a few at a time so the other servers don't get overloaded. Imagine we just brought a new server online, so we go to the 3 other servers and each one of them dumps just some of their users, but slowly, so that all 4 servers will be balanced. Well, eventually that code would probably be on the server. There'd be some command like graceful shutdown, but it doesn't have to be. We can start on the client. And in fact, we can start right here in this console window. Make that a little bit bigger. And we can start writing the code here, and because it's all JavaScript, it can move wherever it needs to move. So So let me start with remote. That's where I put these functions. Right now these functions just go out, get all, and shut down, and they make those web requests that we just discussed. So let's say get all. Well, it's a it might take a second, especially when you're not local. You know, right now I'm testing at home, but when something's in the data center and I'm off on my laptop trying to fix it, might not be that fast. I'm going to jump past this part because that's not important to what we're doing today. I'm just going to say let's take these results. Oh, by the way, all this stuff timed out. There's like a 5-minute timeout just built into everything. So let me send some more of these. Let's say 30 new connections. Okay, that kind of jumped around out of order because they were all trying at once, and then the response to say yes, I am open came back a little bit later than the request, so it's a little bit different from last time. Alright, so let's try this again. Remote get all, and again I'm just going to sneak right into here. It's really easy. The word is await. You just can't use that at this console here. So I'm just going to say store this in a some place for me. Yep, easy enough. Temp1 dot, oh, well, maybe we want to just do a few at a time. So let's grab the first 10 of these. Slice 0, comma 10. And I've already made progress. I can see, well, I can see that I got rid of whatever syntax errors, and I can jump in to see more details, but I don't want to do that. Let's try it this way. Map. So each one of these was a description of the connection, and I'm mapping connections to ID numbers. Oops, misspelled it. I know that because it's not very happy down here. You'll see in a minute. There we go. Sometimes it'll actually show me the error message as I'm typing. This time it just waited, and well, it's an interesting environment. But how quickly did I get to this number here? I can see all the ID numbers corresponding to this, and the ID number is of course important when we want to cancel something. That was what we sent, was an ID number and a reason. And this one, again, you won't see anything till I hit refresh, just because we're not done with it. And then this one, on the other hand, we are expecting to see results immediately. So I'm going to say take these first few and let's say for each, and then we're going to have an ID. We know that because we just saw the ID numbers there. And then I'm going to say remote dot shutdown ID, comma. Alright, Brad, by the way, is doing an amazing job editing these, so I just want to give him a, actually it's B-Rad. He used to be Brad, but now he is B-Rad. So, big shout out to our editor. Hope this works. And you notice there was no preview here. It did work as soon as I hit OK, but this was actually making a change. It was smart enough to know this part here is just giving me information on the screen, where this part here was actually doing something. Now, this little thing here, I could have just hit shut down 10 times and it wouldn't have been a big deal. But imagine I'm working with real loads and real customers, and I'm maybe trying this in the middle of the day when, you know, people don't want to be disconnected, or they want They want everything to happen very gracefully and to automatically reconnect, and they don't know about it. So I could feel comfortable during the day trying stuff like this and trying it over and over until I get the right answer, and then moving it into the server. That's a look at some of the new technology here, some of the cutting edge stuff that isn't in production, isn't quite ready for production, but it's coming. And again, this is how you connect. This is how people come in from the outside. We're just making that a little bit more reliable and a little bit more efficient. Otherwise, it's doing the same thing it's always done. It's not a new feature. Those are different videos. Well, thanks for listening, and next time I want to go back to some of my favorite features of Trade Ideas. See you then.